Hello, this is Barry, and this is my IEP presentation. So, without further ado, I'll start. So, on the 15th of August 2019, during his Independence Day speech, Prime Minister Modi expressed confidence that India would become a $5 trillion economy by the year 2024. Now, what the experts have said is that this growth is possible provided that the government takes some steps. These steps include increasing the ease of doing business and increasing the ease of living, urbanization, which is a big driver of growth, globalization, agricultural reforms, and the participation of women in the workforce. Now, I would be stressing on the last point because India cannot grow at a high rate over a three-decade period without gender parity. Because in India, only 20% of the women work, whereas the worldwide average is 48%. Now, if such a major chunk of the population is not working, and we consciously don't put women in positions of power, it will be difficult for India to grow. We must give more opportunity to women to grow consciously, and each one of us must ensure that women are put into position of power so that India becomes a nation of gender parity. Without that, India will not grow. It's not possible because we also have to take into consideration the factor that India, if it were to reach this average of 48%, could add a potential $700 billion into the economy. Now, we see that from studies that have been conducted that the female labor force participation in India has gone down from 34% in 2006 to 24.8% in 2020. According to a study conducted by the United Nations, India was the only country among the countries that were surveyed where the economic gender gap was larger than the political gap. The study found that raising women's participation in the labor force to the same level as men could boost India's GDP greatly because gender stereotypes and a lack of infrastructure has traditionally sidelined women from the core functions in industry. As a result, many of them are not able to reach leadership roles. Because globally, 38.7% of employed women are working in agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, but only 13.8% of the landowners are women. So it is the need of the hour that public policy and corporate policies incorporate various gender related barriers in India to ensure effective solution. So we say that it requires attention to the gender perspectives as an integral part of all activities across all work programs. This involves putting the gender perspectives as the central frame of thought to all policy development, research, advocacy, development, implementation, and monitoring of norms and standards and planning, implementation, and monitoring of projects. Because both economic and the cultural reasons explain that women falling out of India's labor forces. The latest evidence suggests that the number of jobs in India is on the decline. This is a significant structural problem for a country with a burgeoning young population. In particular, India has struggled to create labor intensive manufacturing jobs which favor women. This is in contrast to countries like Bangladesh that experienced a booming export led manufacturing sector that led to more employment opportunities for women. So the number of women staying in education also in both the urban and rural areas has increased, keeping them out of the workforce for longer. But even when this is accounted for, the number of women working remains below India's peers. For men, greater education has led to a higher participation in the labor force. Across India, there are cultural expectations that married women should not work and that they should prioritize housework and care work. A survey on social attitudes in 2016 has found that around 40 to 60% of women and men believe that married women should not work if the husband earns reasonably well. And well, another factor that's keeping women out of the workforce is the problem of violence because studies have found that sexual violence and an unsafe environment for women also stops them from seeking paid work outside of their homes. And this is especially true in the case of lower caste women and Muslims. So, India needs more policies that support women workers and promote investment in services and skill training for informal laborers that would add value to their activities. One way is that Government efforts should be in place to train women, including those that are presently working in the informal economy, for industries and occupations that are experiencing growth. The private sector and business community is also crucial in helping bridge the gap between the skills in jobs and to enable the access to decent work for women. Technical training, life skills training, and financial literacy programs for women to help them develop marketable skills and better decision-making abilities cannot be undertaken in any way without the involvement of industries. So companies should invest in women entrepreneurs through microfinance and bring their goods and services into supply chains. Enhancing women's access to the internet can also create an emerging market of connected women who can be linked to business opportunities. In addition, as employers, the private sector can invest in women's security against violence at home and in public places, and they should take steps to ensure the mobility through inclusive transport. Another factor that is a problem here would be that the gender pay gap. So, with regards to this, one approach to closing the gap would be to place a higher value on typically female qualities and female dominated occupations. Another factor behind the gender pay gap could be the motherhood penalty that comes on female wages. So, an important step towards closing this gap would be a more equitable sharing of parental responsibilities between men and women. Paid parental leave policies that provide both maternity and paternity leave can help in achieving this goal by increasing the father's participation in childcare and reducing the gender stereotyping in childcare and related household responsibilities. Thank you.